Welcome to the Toffee Blue, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the match preview for West Ham United versus Everton on Sunday, the 3rd of April. We're going into this game looking to not get hammered away from home, if you'll pardon the pun. We have been hammered in the last two games away from home, Spurs and Palace, 5-0, 4-0. We really need to stop that rot, that's for sure. But going into this, regardless of the results, past results, present and future need to be better, and we need to get ourselves out of trouble. I'm joined by Connor. We're going to look into what's going to be a crucial game to kickstart a crucial week for Everton, not just for the season, but for who knows, the future of the club as well. It's going to be a really, really interesting clash, of course. No love lost as well. David Moyes, former manager in charge as well. It's going to be a very, very tough game of this one, I think. Connor, how are you feeling, mate?
A little bit worried, to be fair. I think when you look at West Ham and the way they're set up, they're like polar opposite to what we are. And the fact that they, defensively they're a little bit more secure. I know obviously they got beat by Tottenham as well, 3-1, but they're a lot more secure defensively than us, which isn't saying much. And they've gone through the Europa League as well, which was a really good result to get through there. So they'll be absolutely on a high. And I think it's just going to come down to that as well. A massive part of it, they're on a high, enjoying a good run, having an all right season, and then they come against us, who are having an awful season. The players look shot of confidence. I don't think there's much to shout about at the club. Which I think is probably going to come into effect as well, a matter of mentality.
Yeah, the club's a very miserable place to be at the moment. We know that. It's one of those things where I think regardless of the outcome, whether we stay or go this season, I think everybody just wants this season out the way. Because even if we do stay up, it's not going to be a case of whip out the pints, I don't think. It's a case of how on earth did we let this happen regardless, whether we survive or not. In my opinion, it's surviving on the final day. If we succeed in doing so, isn't something to celebrate. I don't think it's a disgrace that we're in this position to begin with. Considering we sat second just 15, 16 months ago.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, obviously, there are certain clubs that celebrate staying up, and not knocking those clubs because it's an achievement if you're Norwich, who are in the fight every time they come back up, or a Watford, or maybe even Burnley, just because they look like they're in a little bit of trouble now. Obviously, they've been in the Premier League a while, but maybe they'd celebrate, although I think they'd probably have the same attitude if it shouldn't really happen. But for us, a club of not just our stature, but the money we've put into it, the ambition that the fans have been fed, it's not good enough. And staying up, whether it's 5 games to go, 3 games to go, or on the day, I don't think anyone will be celebrating. It'll be pints of relief, I think, if we stay up, and pints of probably sorrow if we go down. But I completely agree with you. It's an awful situation, and the club shouldn't be in this situation. It's just what mismanagement can do over 5 years.
Yeah, it's a disgrace, and let's be honest. There's obviously a lot of news coming out in the last couple of days, like footage of the new stadium going up, which is great. Don't get me wrong, and it's one of those. I mean, the most cynical of supporters, and let's be honest, 95% of the supporters are becoming the most cynical supporters at this stage. I think we'll see that as trying to whitewash what's gone on this season, because it's not been good enough. And looking back to the game, obviously West Ham are a sign of what we should have done. Should we I think it's going to be a very chastening experience, I think, Sunday, because David Moyes, as I think now we all realise, that we probably should have gone back for David Moyes. Obviously, we didn't know that Ancelotti was going to do what he did and walk out on the club. But looking back now, it was have absolutely been the right move, and I think we're going to have a hammered home to us. I think that was the wrong decision, and yet another wrong decision by the hierarchy. But I think his team are going to give us a pasting on Sunday. I mean, unless Frank Lampard has done absolute wonders and waved 6 or 7 magic wands in the past fortnight, then I don't see how we're going to, certainly avoid defeat. But for me, just to stop leaking goals would be a start. Because the last 2 away games, 9 goals conceded. And, any team who does that goes down normally.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't want to keep going in on Watford specifically, but it is Watford levels of goal, goal leakage, and stuff. It's the teams we've conceded goal. Obviously, Spurs, are a good team. Palace are a good team, but I mean, should we be
4-0, come on.
4-0? I don't think that's an acceptable. They're as good of a team they are. They're not that good. And it's a story of all season as well. When you think back to the 5-2 hammering, at home to Watford as well, which was absolutely mental. Interesting you mentioned Moyes though, isn't it? Because I think it's one of those where Everton fans will look at it now as like what we could have had, what you could have won. Because from what I've heard, he was really keen to come back as well before we went with Ancelotti. And there were reports at the time as well, if I remember rightly, there were people like, this is just hearsay, but people were like saying he's, was on train, getting ready to go on trains and stuff. And he was apparently, there were some people in the boardroom apparently that wanted him. Obviously not Fad Mashiri. And to be fair, if Carlo Ancelotti says he's available for the job,
take Carlo Ancelotti, which is, and rightly so. I think the worst thing that could have happened to us, though, I think the real sliding doors, you'd have just hoped that Napoli didn't sack him. And then, we had to take Moyes, and I think it might have worked out a bit better. But, what happened. And, obviously Ancelotti's departures spelled absolute disaster for us because we brought in the worst possible manager.
Did you see that it was all down to Allegri deciding he didn't want to go to Madrid? Juventus had contacted him in the summer and he was like, he turned down Madrid, which then led to Ancelotti going back.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's if there's one man you want to blame, it's Allegri for changing his mind.
I know, yeah. Well, there was all kinds of like being thrown around, wasn't it? It was just a nightmare. It's been a really, really difficult season. Like I say, I think Moyes would have made us exactly what we needed to be. We'd have been, a lot more compact, a lot more aggressive. Whereas now I think he's brought in players who'd have made us that way, whereas we're stuck with the same spineless cowards. And thankfully, I think that's the one thing that I do like about Frank Lampard as manager is it's not taking him very long to call them out. He said what Everton fans have been thinking a month and a half into his tenure here, whereas even managers as good as Ancelotti and even Allardyce, for as outspoken as he could have been, never really said that scathing assessment of the players. And so for him to say, have you got the proverbials to play for Everton, that is about time that an Everton manager came out and said that when these players tarnish our club, the performances they put in. I think it's about time we saw a manager speak up for us as fans who are being embarrassed week after week with the performances. And the manager's got to realise that, and yes, he manages the players, but he answers to the fans as well. And anybody who runs the club answers to the fans. And for him to finally say what fans have been thinking, where other managers fail to do that, I think that's one of the things that's really sort of won me over with Frank Lampard. And I'm hoping that he can turn this around. And I'm hoping that, like I say, the much needed 2-week respite away from Premier League football has given him a chance to maybe work on a few of his methods a bit more and try and restore a bit of confidence as well to the players. Hopefully some, I don't know, like behind closed doors games or some a lot of training matches just to try and get players sort of into the groove and sort of try and get a bit of rhythm back, because we've been absolutely rudderless in the last month or so. We've had a couple of good results, but generally it still hasn't been good enough, and he needs to just get his methods across a bit. But I think that's hopefully what he's done the last 2 weeks. And if he has done, I'm not sure how much it'll help us in this game. I still think we're very much second best, even if we perform in this game, which is horrible to say. But you've got games after that, like Burnley, even Manchester United at home games, big home games. I think we need to give ourselves more of a fighting chance in those fixtures. And, that is what these last 2 weeks, I'd like to think Frank Lampard's been really putting the players through the paces and getting, knocking a few heads together as well, because some of the players have been pathetic. And he was right to say what he said. I don't stand for what Chris Sutton and all the other idiots say when they're like, you can't say that, it's going to upset the dressing room. It does upset the dressing room. The dressing room's upsetting us. Absolutely, call them out. He's tried to do the arm round approach and it hasn't paid off. So, try something different. That's what we want managers to do this for a long time at Everton. And finally, we've got one who has. So, I'm very big on hopefully give Lampard time and whatever the outcome of this season, let's see what he can do now. Hopefully, he can get a few results in the next couple of games and put a few minds at ease, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same boat as you. I think it's good that he's calling them out. I think, obviously, it's not down to one specific thing, is it? All the chickens have come to roost, haven't they? In terms of the club is probably one of the. I know Carragher said it on the overlap, and I have to agree with him. It's one of the worst run clubs in the Premier League, or it certainly seems that way from the outside looking in.
Well, it is. It's the results are there for all to see.
Yeah, and I think obviously managers. The last manager wasn't very good, and Benitez, Ancelotti, I think did the best he could with the tools. But one factor in all of it is the players, and I think the fact he's calling them out. Sutton can say it's not fair, whatever. These players have had a bit of an easy. Some of them have seen out 4 managers now.
Too easy a ride. And in fairness, a lot of managers have fallen on their own sword in that they haven't called the players out, I think. They've tried to be too kind to the players, and the players have just rubbed their noses in it.
I think Marco Silva's one of his big
Definitely
problems.
Marco Silva.
Yeah, he's way too kind.
But you look at, I think the real problem for me is the rot really set in. You say Ancelotti did a good job. He did a good job probably delivering us the, eventually 10th, but there about where he got us. That was probably us punching above our weight. I think the issue was really those first 3 years under Moyes, from 2016 to 2019, was the decline in the quality of player that we had in the squad. The sort of general standard has dropped to the point where even Carlo Ancelotti was only sort of grind out ugly results to get us into the top half. I think the issue, if it's certainly come home, I think when Idrissa Gueye left, there was a massive, we haven't really had a replacement for him yet. And I think midfield has been so pathetic ever since. Even under Ancelotti, we struggled. I don't think we've had a player like Gueye again since. We need a player like that. If Lampard knows what he's doing, that'll be one of his priorities for the summer, whichever league we're in.
Yeah, and I think that's the story of Everton. That is, obviously Lukaku went, never really replaced them. Obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin did well last season, but we didn't replace him with Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin just, developed.
We were just lucky that he developed.
Yeah,
under Ancelotti, really, more than anything else.
Exactly, like you said, Idrissa Gueye went, never really replaced that hole, and that's starting to show now. I don't think I mean, Mikalenko, I'm not knocking him, but I don't think he's the same type of player as Luka Dean.
He's not the same level of player. He'll probably be a decent player, but he's not Luka Dean. He's certainly not Leighton Baines, who we had in 2016.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a common theme with Everton where we lose players, and then, I mean, I'm not going to say we don't try to fill the gaps, but we do it in such an appalling way. Since Lukaku, we've had some strikers that are just not there, are they?
We've still got a finished Seamus Coleman playing at 34 at right back, who, he was in the prime of his career probably when Moyes took over, and he's been hung out to dry. Really, we haven't even properly signed a replacement until supposedly Patterson, but he's still barely getting the kick. And even that, like signing players and then just not giving them a kick. I mean, okay, maybe signing them for the future, but you sign players for the future, you don't pay 10 million plus for them.
Um,
Players for the future are 5 million and under.
and like, bearing in mind, we weren't in any better of a situation in January. So like, when you're in the situation we were in then, where you can see us slipping and slipping, you buy players that can make the impact now.
Proven grafters we needed,
Yeah.
and we got none of them. We got two youngsters, one deemed too young to be ready, one from Ukraine who's been through a lot personally and also too young, a lot of adaptation regardless. Then we brought in a lone player who's not had a kick and a lone player who appears to not be up for the fight.
Yeah, the El Ghazi one absolutely blew. I mean, the Dele
I
Alli.
never even mentioned that. I was mentioning Van der Beek and then Dele Alli, but
Yeah, I thought you were on about the El Ghazi one. You said
I'll be honest with you, Connor. I completely forget he exists.
That one blows my mind. I mean, the Dele Alli one, I don't think was the right move either. And possibly Van der
None of
Beek.
those players were the right move. I mean, some of them might turn out to be good players for Everton, but they weren't the right move for the situation we were in and for the sort of intelligence we need, the wisdom we needed to use with the limited funds we had.
I agree. We needed another defensively minded, a proper defensive minded
gnarly grafter we needed, and we've definitely not got them. I think, like I say, Idrissa Gueye we haven't replaced properly, and we've not been the same since. Before Idrissa Gueye, we had like James McCarthy who did that job. Before James McCarthy, we had like a few other players who we play in the midfields who do the job. We had like Fellaini, and we'd have even like going further back, you had like Phil Neville, Carl. There's always been a tough tackling
Gareth Barry as well.
midfielder. Barry was a great sitting midfielder. You'd think about from 2016 when Rashidi took over, and we were doing poorly, but a lot of that was more down to the mismanagement of Martinez, I think. But you look at the squad that finished seventh under Ronald Koeman in first full season under Rashidi, and the major decline in standards of the players from there to now. That's where the writing's on the wall for any team who allows that to happen.
Absolutely, and there's so many changing faces at Everton as well, and like, obviously, as we've said like numerous times, you can't keep swapping and changing; it'll never sit. But like, it would help a lot if they just got the right fit and had a philosophy, a style, sort of thing. People keep going, "What's Everton's identity since Moshiri's come?" I couldn't tell you.
There isn't one.
1 minute we're trying to play high tiki-taka football and with Martinez, the next we're playing pragmatic football with Ancelotti, we're playing whatever Silva's philosophy was. There's a switch in styles. I think the only two similar was the fact that like Benitez was meant to be pragmatic. Obviously it didn't turn out that way, but he was meant to be more pragmatic. And that was the only time I thought there's something in there. But even then, going from like Ancelotti to Benitez is...
Yeah, to be honest, I thought that's the one thing that had me sort of agreeing with Benitez being appointed was that it did seem like continuity from the Ancelotti style. But like you say, that was an absolute... we were sold a pack of lies there once again. I think that's the thing. Like, I think going into this game is like, where can we win battles? I struggle to see it.
Yeah.
Can you see where we can maybe hurt these?
It's going to be tough because, like you've just mentioned, having fighters and grafters, and a lot of that is what I see in West Ham's side. And you think of like Souček,
Declan Rice.
Yeah, even that Kufal, who's not for a right back, he's not got blistering pace. I think he might be injured, but he's a grafter.
He's not the greatest player, but he puts himself about.
Yeah, Cresswell as well, who's been there for a while. Moyes seems to get the best out of him. I'm struggling to see their weakness, in all honesty. I'm hoping a couple of them are injured. I believe, is Bowen still got a knock?
Possibly.
He's a big loss for them.
You may well do, but it's more for me. It's like on a good day, I think we might be able to keep them out, but it's how do we give them something to think about? And I don't know where our next goal's coming from. To be quite frank, the only goal we've scored was the Iwobi goal, which came out of nothing really.
Yeah, it was amazing, but like you said, came out of nowhere.
It's the only goal we've scored since the Leeds game,
which is pretty it's pretty grim to think about. I think that's one of the problems, isn't it? Not only are we like, if we were a little bit leaky, obviously not as leaky as we are, but if we were a little bit leaky, say now we'd let in a goal a game, but we were scoring 3, I don't think it'd matter as much. But we're not creating enough either, we're not creating enough, and we're not defensively solid. So like normally if you're not very creative, they'll go, right, shut up shop then, let's just try and not concede and we'll see if we can snatch one. Whereas we're neither, and instead of going shut up shop, we seem to still be like, oh no, let's just press and allow for so much behind us. That's the biggest worry, is that they're letting the likes of Antonio get that space behind us. I think his pace might be a little bit too much for the likes of Michael Keane and Mason Holgate. Especially if they're caught out of position. If Michael Keane's drawn out as easy as he was against Tottenham with Kane, we're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I worry about like how the tactics all point to them out fighting us and
set pieces as well.
Yeah, there's not many teams worse than we are, so both attacking and defending them, I think. But I think what I worry about is that their tactics are perfectly poised to hurt all of our weaknesses. The lack of fight, the lack of set piece, cohesion, the lack of creativity, they can easily maybe counteract that.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got some like Creswell, for instance, his delivery is good. But that's Souček. The amount of times I've seen him, for a midfield, they get goals because he's running in deep. He's a big fella. We've not got Yerry Mina either, so we've not got a big fella to counteract that and mark him. I mean, not saying Michael Keane's small, but he's not, Yerry Mina or Souček size. And I also think the way he runs, I think some of our players are just going to go. I've got the horrible feeling our defence are going to go, he's their defensive midfielder, he won't do anything, and then get caught out by runs, which we wouldn't be the only team. I've seen it a couple of times when I watch West Ham play, players just not marking the more defensive players in West Ham side. But like you said, it just seems like all their strengths are our weaknesses.
Yeah, it doesn't make for pretty read, and obviously in the fact that they've done quite well at home and we've been horrific away. I don't think I feel confident going into an away game against Watford or Norwich, to be honest, never mind these. So, I think it's a tall order regardless for us to win an away game, but I'm just not confident here. It's a difficult one. It's painful. I'm trying to not be too negative, but I feel like I'm just waffling negativity at the moment. But yeah, before we wrap up anyway, we'll just go through the lineup. What do you expect to see personnel-wise in this one?
I don't expect him to change an awful. I mean, trying to figure out what formation he's going to go for is in itself probably one of the biggest tasks with Frank Lampard, because as we know, he's changed his system a couple of times. I going to assume he's going to go with similar that he set out against Palace, but I don't think he's going to play. Obviously, Townsend won't be playing. Maybe Calvert-Lewin. Surely Calvert-Lewin is match fit enough to at least start the game and play a couple of minutes. You'd hope now, because he's had 2 weeks training. So I'd go with the exact same. I think he's going to stay with the back three of Godfrey, Keane and Holgate. I think Seamus Coleman's going to play right back, no matter how good Patterson's run was it for Scotland. And people were saying on Twitter, I think it will still go with Coleman. I think he's going to go with the core in midfield. I'm hoping he doesn't go with Andre Gomez, but I mean, who else has he got to stick there under the current? Maybe Van der Beek.
Van der Beek deeper, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Van der Beek. I mean, maybe Fabian Delph if he's fit. I don't know what Fabian Delph's doing now. But he'll probably go Van der Beek, Decore, and then I hope it's Gordon, Calvert-Lewin, and Richarlison. I'm certain Calvert-Lewin should at least be fit enough to start now. He's had a couple of games and he's had 2 weeks off to sort of get up to match fitness, or at least as best as he could. So I'm hoping. I'm not expecting him to go out and score a hat trick, but I'm hoping he'd at least has got half the game in him at least from the start.
Yeah, I think we should really be trying. We should be putting our best players out. There should be a way to make it work. I mean, like Iwobi was decent prior to the break. It was Iwobi or it'd be Iwobi or Damari Gray. It'd be the last person in that front four, I think, for me. That's provided Calvert-Lewin's fit.
Yeah, Iwobi I forgot about as well. He'd been playing very Iwobi-esque though, isn't it? To have a couple of good games and a couple of bad. Or Damari Gray's a good shout. I'd go. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Damari Gray might just fit in if Calvert-Lewin's not fit enough. I think Anthony Gordon starts most games for us now. He seems to be one of our
consistently decent players.
Yeah, and he's constantly looks to take people on, which is nice to see from an Everton player. There's a lot of the time it's passed backwards and sort of I don't know, like blinkers, sort of players have got the blinkers on, panic a little bit, whereas he looks to just get the ball, run forward. So he's got to start. But I think he's going to play the 3-4-3.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, and that's the best formation for us, I think. But it's getting the best personnel into that formation.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll play John Joe Kenny as well as I completely forgot to do the left back. I think he'll play Kenny there.
It's easy to forget because we haven't got one, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It's just unless he goes with a 4-back and sticks Godfrey there, but I've got a feeling even then that it's the same sort of thing. You're sticking a right-footed player at left back. Godfrey's, in my opinion, better there than Kenny, but it's still the same.
It's still the same, not having any balance because our left back isn't left-footed.
No, and he tucks him way too narrow for it.
Too narrow. We don't have any width down that left. Honestly, I know it's been a difficult start for Mykolenko, but he's got to play all the games now. I know he might not be ready, but you just have to be as ready as he can be because we need the left footer on the wing. The other alternative we had was to potentially play Townsend there. We can't do that now, I think.
Yeah, and he's out for the season, isn't he?
Possibly. The left back needs to be able to overlap. He's the only left-footed outlet we've got in the team. We need them to be able to get down the flank the way a Luca Dean or a Leighton Baines used to. You know, we're not talking like be a world beater, not be on their level maybe, but just get up and down the left wing and provide service with your left foot because we haven't got that at the moment.
And there's no point having someone like Calvert-Lewin whose strengths
on crosses.
Yeah, like what's the point in having someone like that if you're not going to put crosses in?
Precisely, but that's the one thing, my one pet hate. I'd love to see Mykolenko play because I'm sick of watching us now with no balance, no left footer going down that left wing to provide service. We're not getting anything. We keep coming back inside, coming back down. That's how the sideways and backwards passing happens because there's no balance to the team. Just please, if you're listening, Frank Lampard, just pick Mykolenko at left back. Just put a left footer at left back, and at least we might have a better chance of creating something. That's
anything, especially if you're going to play a 3-4-3, like because they're quite high up the field. Do you really want a right footer that high up the field who's going to, with no
turn back on his right and
and there's no one right behind him. It's not like a 4-4-2 where if the left midfielder does it, the left back's right there to back him up. As soon as he messes up, the centre back's going to have to get dragged out of position. It's far too risky to play a player who's not comfortable with that side of his feet.
I definitely agree with Mykolenko. That's my choice, but who knows what we'll see. We're going to wrap up anyway. We'll just finish with predictions. I'm not looking forward to this part, I'm not going to lie. Connor, what's your prediction for this one?
I'm going to go with, I can never say we'll lose. I can never bring myself to do it. Going to go with 1-1. 1-1. I've got this feeling Souček's going to get a goal. Yeah, I can't bring myself to say like 2-0, which is what I was really thinking.
I'll say it with my chest. I'll say we're getting beat 3-0. But I mean, I'd love to be very pleasantly surprised, but actually, I won't be. I think we will get beat, to be honest. But I'm going to say 1-0. I think I'd like to think, even if it doesn't turn out the way we planned, that they show a bit more fight at least, and they go down fighting. That might give us, and then hopefully that gives us a little bit of something to build on and get a result at Burnley at least.
Yeah, and the Burnley game comes pretty quick after this. We can't afford them a
hammering. We can't be getting whacked.
No,
I don't think it's going to be a good result for us, but I'm just hoping we keep it scores on and just show the fight needed so that we don't our heads don't completely go for that Burnley game. I'm going to say a 1-0 win for West Ham, which is horrible to say that's what I'm hoping happens, but this is what this season's done to us, guys. Anyway, if you guys are feeling a bit more optimistic, please get involved and drop us a comment below, and whatever you think, and get your predictions in. Let us know how you're feeling. Drop us those comments. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching on the Toffee Blues.